Hello everyone. I hope you're all doing fine despite of our situation. Okay, so welcome now to our first topic. Our first topic for the subject is the Rizal Law. Of course, we are going to um, familiarize ourselves as to why there is a need for us to study Rizal, the lives and works and writings of Rizal. Okay, so let me just okay. So the first question is why students are obligated to take up a course on Rizal. So number one is I think we can all agree he is our hero. He is the first and foremost initiator of national consciousness. I don't know if you had um, already taken Philippine history. But if you do, I hope you can still recall that even before the time of Rizal and Andres Bonifacio, there are a lot of initial revolts that happened in the Philippines, all parts of the Philippines, from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Okay, now the reasons for the revolt or the main cause for the revolt is mainly personal. We say personal, it's more like of a revenge, not type of revolt. Say for example, the revolt of Daguhoy, Francesco Daguhoy, when one of the priests declined the burial of the relatives of Daguhoy, he revolted against the Spaniards. Okay, so it's really quite personal. Now, when it comes to Rizal, now what is different with Rizal's revolt or diplomatic revolt to the initial revolts is that Rizal is the only one who united, who tried to unite the Filipinos and awaken their national consciousness that, hey, this is our country, this is our Philippines, and we should work together, something like that. That awakens the national consciousness of the Filipinos during Rizal's time. So that made him really famous. So it can be addressed in two ways to further answer that question. First, it is historical, meaning historically, Rizal course is thought because Dr. Jose Rizal is a great figure in making the Filipino or in making of the Filipino nation. So technically, without the ideas or without Rizal awakening the national consciousness of Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Aguinaldo, and other heroes that fought against the Spaniards and the Americans during the Philippine Revolution. Without Rizal, then there uh, wala tayong revolution ngayon, or wala tayong revolution na nagaganap noon. Okay? So, second, in legal, so Rizal course is a compulsory subject because it is mandated by law. Okay, so I think I have already sent a file, RA 1425. I hope you have already read it. No? So we will discuss later what is the law about. Okay, let me just go through with my slides first. So there are two reasons to justify this module. Number one is to let the students know the struggle of those nationalistic people in passing the Bill 438. And number two, to let the students go deeper into the reason why Rizal course is a compulsory subject. So let us go before we go directly to the law or the RA 1425. Let us try to understand first, the roots of this law and why a lot of people try to push this law to be implemented. Okay, So a brief history of RA 1425. So the first stage. So here we have the birth, difficulty, and reactions. So Rizal wrote the Noli Me Tangere. Rizal first conceived of the writing of the novel Noli Me Tangere as early as 1884. Okay. So he first planned to write it in French. Okay. Noli was really intended for Europe. Okay, so it was not really intended. He did not intended it to write in Spanish. Okay, so but changed his mind and wrote it in Spanish, and then the language spoken by the most countrymen. So he made sure that whatever he wrote there, against the Spaniards, it would be understood, by the Filipinos and the government or the Spanish government. So here, instead, we have now the Spanish, which translates Noli Me Tangere. Okay, now Rizal wrote the Noli Me Tangere in 3 years' time. First is in Madrid, the second is in Paris, and the third is in Germany, and he published it in Berlin on March 1887. Now, his novel encountered difficulty in getting into the Philippines due to the censorship by the Commission Permanente de Censura. So this one class, this is the law where the Spanish government tried to, tried to cut down kind of informations or try to cut down the publicity of this information because they will be attacked globally. No, that this is the situation in the Philippines and they were cruel to the Filipino people, and other countries might try to colonize the Philippines, in which um the Spanish government would find themselves in a war that they do not want to engage. And so they try to implement this one, the Commission Permanente de Censura, which is to limit these the information from the Philippines to be publicized. Okay. Now, the novel of Rizal, the Noli Me Tangere, violates that law. So the novel had to be smuggled and it circulated around in June 1887. So these were the initial reactions. Now, in Europe, Rizal friends gave his novel a favorable reactions. No, Luna and other kuaniya kanang peers. So Rizal friends in Europe gave his novel a favorable reactions. Now in the Philippines, okay, people are eagerly received by in the Philippines, people eagerly received the book from Father Schumacher. I don't know how to read the word, no, with feverishness of a society denied freedom of information. Now, Filipinos wanted to lay their hands on the book, which no one had dared or been allowed to say before in the public. So the Spaniards, on the other hand, showed equal eagerness, to get hold of the book. That is because they wanted to review, how were they portrayed in the novel. Of course, their reputation, they're trying to protect it. And the Filipinos really love the novel, for in fact, it's not every day that someone would stood up or would publish like this kind of book that would go against the Spaniards. And so it was, if you're going to compare it in our showbiz, in today's time, it goes viral, something like that. So The result of the review prompted the declaration of the Nole as heretical, impious, and scandalous in the religious order, and anti-patriotic, subversive of public order, offensive to the government of Spain and to its method of procedure in these islands in the political order. So technically, this is in the in the side of the Spanish government. So they declared it anti-patriotic. But in the side of the Filipinos, that novel awakened their love for their country. That it's time, no, for them to awaken their eyes, no, to open their eyes rather to whatever is happening into their society, no, the abuses, the the bandala system, no, the bandala is where farmers were being um, scammed, no, by the government, and other things, no, abuses and corruption that is in the Philippines. So the Governor General Emilio Teriro referred the matter to the Board of Censorship, where there the friar recommended that the importation, reproduction, and circulation of this pernicious book be absolutely prohibited. Okay? So, pinagbabawal yung pagserkula ng kopya, no, of the book. Okay? So, it was really hard as well for the Filipinos. But, fortunately, no, there are some Filipinos naman who have read the book and tried to preach, no, whatever is in the book, and that helps, no, in sending the message to the Filipinos, from the book of Nole Me Tangere. Now, the second stage is, we call it struggle for acceptance. So the Nole Me Tangere received both rejection and acceptance. Some praised the book and some attacked it. So this is from Father Salvador Font, now distributed pamphlets in which he enunciated the attacks that Rizal allegedly had made on the different aspects of the Spanish colonial setup. So technically, he circulated the pamphlets only to those who could further suppress the novel. Okay? So he is trying to bring down the credibility of Rizal by making this kind of issue. Now, next we have police power was also used as a form of attack. Now, Whaler is General Whaler. He is one of the Governor General in the Philippines that time. General Whaler is known as a tyrant, no, a very tyrant general. He is notoriously called as the Butcher of Cuba. Okay? So during the term of Governor Valeriano Whaler, a mere possession of the book made one liable for arrest. So if nakuhaan ka or nakitaan ka ng kopya ng isang libro na which is the Noli Me Tangere, pwede kang ipadakip, ipabitay, something like that, or kulong. Okay? Now, the most insidious attack came from the Augustinian friar Jose Rodriguez. Questions such as, why should I read them? Beware of them, no? Something like that. What do you think of the plague? So confession or damnation. So he tried to use his position, the Augustinian friar, no, Father Rodriguez, he tried to use his position that if you are going to have a copy of the book, no, you could possibly end up in, damnation, or in you will be punished by God, no, because friars is again one of the evils of the Spanish colonial government. So he issued a series of pamphlets that discuss the dangers in reading such impious books. He also put forward some threatening question in the pamphlets. Now, do you want damnation? Or what do you think of the plague? No? Meaning to say, um, if you're going to read the book, you will experience this, no, this and that. That he question you, no, on those pamphlets. So next we have Marcelo H. Del Pilar responded the arguments of Father Rodriguez. So he circulated his own pamphlets written in Tagalog. The cover was similar to that of the pamphlets of the priest. Okay. So Father Vicente Garcia, he argued that Rizal novel must be viewed as a literary work, not as a doctrine. Okay? But the best defense of the Nole came from Rizal himself. Okay? So this is what he said. For all its faults has served my purpose. It has struck that the head of the two-faced Goliath that in the Philippines is called friar rule and maladministration, my book has not yet been judged and cannot be judged because its effects are still being felt. So when men, its pillories have disappeared from the country's political life, when a generation arises which does not itself participate in these present crimes, and when we shall all have gone, then the Spaniards and Filipinos shall be able to judge the Nole freely and impartially without fanatism or spite. Okay? So that is his defense, no, to the attacks of his novel, Nole Me Tangere. Now, next, no, his second novel is written El Filibusterismo. He had financial difficulties, no, that caused him to make a drastic editing of the Phili. So the book was pointed out to be a dedication on the three priests martyred in 1872. Okay, that is Father Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora. No, when the friars tried to, uh, name, no, these three brothers as the responsible for the Cavite Mutiny. Now, in late 1891, the Phili went off the press and circulated in the Philippines. So in 1892, Rizal returned to the Philippines, and then in his arrival, he was searched and left leaflets containing accusations against the friars were allegedly found in his luggage. So he was accused, but the charges were not specifically grounded. So there was no specific ground of what kind of law that he violated. Because again, El Filibusterismo and No Limitang Here is a novel. Okay? But it was some sort of patama na, no, natamaan talaga, no? Natamaan talaga yung um, Spanish government. So Rizal was banished to the Pitan due to the Phili and other charges. There, he justified his works. Now, on the third stage, later, Crisis of the Novels, although the charges were not clearly proven, Rizal was still executed in the morning of December 30, 1896. No, but the spirit of Rizal's novel continued to live on even in this time, no, in our time, the 20th century. So the Rizal Bill of 1956. So in the 1950s, nationalistic Filipinos took the move to resurrect Rizal's spirit of nationalism. So it was Senator Claro Imbrecto headed the nationalist crusade and authored the Senate Bill 438. Now, before it became a law, it was Senate Bill number 438. So the bill was made public in April 1956. So this is Claro Imbrecto. Okay. So Recto proposed that these novels, in their unexpurgated form, be a compulsory reading in private and public schools, colleges, and universities. And then three senators, Francisco, Rodrigo, De Corozo Rosales, and Mariano Cuenco, did not co-sponsor the bill and sided with the Catholic Church in opposing the bill. No, the Catholic Church has its own reasons why they opposed the bill. The Catholic Church said the Catholic Church hierarchy made the most adamant protest. Okay, so Senate hearings led the great nationalist Lorenzo Tañada to say, what pains those who fought the passage of the Rizal Bill in one of the bitterest conflicts in the halls of Congress is that some of our countrymen are still reluctant to fully implement the Rizal Bill. Okay? So, para bang in question, no? Para bang bakit ayaw niyong ipasa yung bill? Ano ba yung epekto niyan sa mga buhay niyo, no? Itong taong to, no, si Rizal, is he gave his life, no, to voice out, to awaken our national consciousness, that help a lot of Filipinos, no, na namulat yung mata sa katotohanan, no, is tama lang naman, no, na magkaroon siya ng um, life and works and writings of Rizal, not to be taught in public and private in colleges, no, as well. So that. So the debate of the bill rose to high level of emotionalism and ardent patriotism. So the opponent side here, I don't know if you can see, no, Catholic Action in the Philippines, the Congression and then the Knights of Columbus, and then the Catholic Teachers Guild and other Catholic groups. So that is the opponent side. And then the proponent side, we have the Revolutionary Veterans Spirit of 1896, Alagad ni Rizal, Freemasons, and the Book Lovers Society. So those are two-sided in passing the bill 438. So here, the opponent side, they said the bill violated religious freedom. Another question was, why compel students to read these books when some passages in them are harmful to their faith? Okay, so it was more like of the Catholics, because it was the Spaniards who introduced Christianity, here in the Philippines, and it creates a bad name for Christianity in total. No, not just the Catholics, in Christianity in total, that there were some friars, my God. Friars is considered as one of the evils of the Spaniards. And so if you're going to, these friars include this into our study, of the students, of what they have done, so they bring a bad name, to the church and to the Christianity. So next, still on the opponent side, Father Jesus Cavana, CM found out that a 332-page edition of Noli contains 120 pages of anti-Catholic statements and only 25 pages of patriotic passages. So he said that there were more anti-Catholic passages instead of patriotic passages. So really, these fathers or these priests were really concerned of, after studying the life and works of Rizal, because it involved studying as well the evils of the friars, what would become of the Catholic Church? Do they still have the credibility? Because they were really trying to protect their credibility as well. Okay. So next, Another commentator said, Rizal is dead. Why should he be roused from his sleep? Let him rest in peace. Okay? So the Noli and Fili are books of the past, no? By the past for the past. Why they have their place in Philippine history, and they certainly are inadequate Bible of the Philippine nationalism today. So that is one of the comment of one of the commentator. Now, on the proponent side, they argued that the opponents of the bill were in effect condemning Rizal's patriotic writings to oblivion, no, by preventing the Filipino youth from reading them. This was worse than what the friars had done. No? It was a tantamount to executing Rizal a second time. Okay? Because they choose to protect their own credibility. No? They choose to protect the religious side. No? It's not, they were concerned more of the reputation of the church, no? Than compared to the national consciousness of the Filipinos. Now, that's the end of debate. Now, Senator Rodrigo, who sided with the Catholic Church, clarified the issue in a privileged speech. He said, okay, this is Rodrigo. He said, the issue is not Rizal, but the bill number 438. The church is not against Rizal, but the provision of the bill which made the novels compulsory reading even for those who found it offensive to their faith. Okay. So here, the clarification caused the debate of the bill to subside. Now, Senator Laurel modified the bill to accommodate the objection of the church. So there was amendments, or it was edited. So the bill was passed into law on June 12, 1956, and is now known Republic Act 1425, otherwise known as Rizal Law. Okay, so the law has made it compulsory for all public and private schools, colleges, and universities to include in their curricula courses on the life, works, and writings of Jose Rizal, particularly the Nole and El Filibusterismo, in their original and unexpurgated versions. However, it is allowed exemptions from reading such versions for reasons of religious belief. So this is the text of RA 1425 and RA 646. So Republic Act for 1425, an act to include in the circuit curricula of all public and private schools, colleges, and universities courses on the life, works, and writings of Rizal, particularly his novels Nole Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. So authorizing the printing and distribution thereof and for other purposes. So this is the Republic Act 646, an act to convert the Orden de Caballeros de Rizal into public corporation to be known in English as Knights of Rizal and in Spanish as Orden de Caballeros de Rizal, and to define its purpose and powers. So this is the Knights of Rizal. So Republic Act 646 converted the Knights of Rizal as public corporation. So the aim of this corporation has been the promotion of ideals of Philippine foremost hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. So the goals is to study the teaching of Brother Jose Rizal, inculcate and propagate them in and among all classes of people, exhort our citizenry by words and deeds, emulate and practice the examples and teaching of Dr. Jose Rizal as an international hero, and then promote among the associated knights the spirit of patriotism and resilience, chivalry, and then develop a perfection union among all people, revering the memory of Dr. Jose Rizal. So To continue, the goals: organize and hold programs commemorative of Rizal's nativity and martyrdom, study and spread the ideals, teaching, and exemplary life of Dr. Jose Rizal, especially to the youth of the land. So organize chapters in all provinces and undertake such programs of activities which will promote individual commitment to the ideals of Rizal and encourage personal and involvement in the contemporary problems of the nations. Next is train and develop the Filipino youth in character building, citizenship training, democratic and leadership, enlightened nationalism, and dedicated service to the country and people. And then their ideas are to help educate the young and help the old. Okay, so this is where the part that you do your homework or your sit work. Now, if we're in a classroom, this will be just our sit work, but since we're having this online, then I will be giving this as one of your assignment. Now, I guess now that would be all for this discussion for this topic. Now, hopefully, you have learned something. This is just a fast version of our discussion since I am trying to make this video shorter, no, because it would really take time for me to upload if I make this a very lengthy discussion. But nevertheless, I will be giving you notes for this one. Hopefully, you will study as well on your own. And that would be it. Okay. Have a good day, everyone, and goodbye.